Hello, this is Zoltán with another ARCHLine.XP webinar. So let's say that we have already done our CAD work. The model is ready. What comes next? We are going to fill it up with life. Let's see how. Let's take a look. As always, I'm joined by my colleague Mr. Illés Falk, who is our resident architect and who is going to introduce us to the wonderful world of ARCHLine.XP Live.
Hi there.
Can you tell us a couple of words what we are going to talk about today?
Well, we will demonstrate how ARCHLine.XP Live works and actually what ARCHLine.XP Live is and how you can use it. We will demonstrate it using two separate projects. One is kind of a partial interior design project. This will be a terrace of a building, but you will see that it's partially an interior design job.
That's right.
As well. And we will also show an architectural solution, an architectural example, how you can fill up your design with life when we are talking about mostly exteriors and how it looks like.
Perfect. As always, we are welcoming all the questions that are coming on the right-hand side in the chat bar. I already submitted an introductory address. So if you have any questions during the show, that's where you can type them. At the end, we are going to look at the questions. But now we have a lot on our plate, so let's take a look. Let's see what you have for us. So what we see on the screen is the standard ARCHLine.XP interface. We have a project here, which is, I think, is a tool. I'm in the rooftop wellness area.
Well, actually, this is a hotel in Spain. It's a rooftop of that hotel, and well, what we will show you around now, just quickly, just to get yourself familiar with this project. As you can see, we have these views here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry,
I have a technical glitch here. It's fine now.
Yes.
So, well, what we have here is this project. You see, there are these project views already saved in this project. Everything is detailed as it regularly should be, when you design something like this. Mm-hmm. You can make renders of this, you can make snapshots of this, you can even navigate and find the 2D and 3D. So that's just a regular project, nothing fancy about that. And what I would like to focus on now, that this project actually contains all those details that's necessary for setting up the materials. Like, for example, there is this nice texture on the floor with all the settings. With this material is actually built upon this texture, and it has this pocket setting, a few details set here. Well, we can't see those now because we don't do the rendering.
It's not a rendered image, it's just a model view, that's right.
Yeah, but we will see those soon, how they look like. And there is also something called, there is this material type, which is the water material type. So these are things that we already defined in the project, like as we would do with any sort of other design. So here is the point when you would like to create the the snapshots, the images, the visuals of a project. Usually set up these things. Then you go to rendering, wait perhaps a half an hour, hour. You have the final render, and then you get to go to the next one and do that. Now, what changes with the ARCHLine.XP Live, which is, I don't know if we talked about that, but Live is, it seems it's part of ARCHLine, but it's a separately installed product which you can download as a separate product. But there is a direct bridge between ARCHLine.XP 2019 and ARCHLine.XP Live. So that's why I'm starting it from here. I could even start it from the desktop. So when I'm starting it, it will come up soon. We will show you what happens then. And then when it comes up, it's actually working in a quite similar fashion when you do the renderings. This is actually transforming the this model that we can see now. I'm actually on the other screen. I will just snap it here. And then you will see that the model appears in an already very visual way. Let me just show you that. So what we have done here, we just created the 3D, we updated the 3D, we determined the materials, the locations of this project, and let me just bring this back here. So this is the ARCHLine.XP Live with the model now. Let's just close this, and as you can see, Now we already have these views that we have defined
okay, so
previously.
these are views that you have defined in ARCHLine, right? So when
Yes.
you were navigating with the page up, page down keys in the software,
Yeah.
these are the same views.
Yeah, you can use the same. Actually, when you use ARCHLine.XP Live, if you're familiar with ARCHLine.XP, then you can use the same navigations. We will talk about this later. So you have these views. Let's just go through all of these. There is view number 1, 2. They are not organized yet, but I will do that later. So I just go through these, and you will see how they all look like. There is a view with the grill. There is another view with this fireplace here. So you just go through these, and this already means that you already have the snapshots, the images created.
Oh yeah, so these are just created right now when you were navigating.
I'm sorry, it's on the other screen. So this is the one. So actually, these are already done. There is snapshot number 1, 2, 3. They are already in full HD, and those are already images that I can send over to my clients if I'm at that point.
So it's a snapshot of at this stage of the project. Right away you have a couple of images without having to do too much.
Yeah, so this is how it looked like. And when I go back to the ARCHLine.XP Live software, then besides this, let me just focus on the main things first, how you would approach such a thing. So let's just go back to this view, for example, and let's focus on the floor, for example. There is this material. It came from ARCHLine. We already saw it happening in ARCHLine. We defined it. And there is this material properties here. It's a pocket. As you can see, this is the same list of material types. You can resize it, you can change its brightness. It happens right away. At the same time, I'm just hovering my mouse over and then change it. It happens. And then also there is this reflection. Let me just change the bump map. This is also very visual, changing that. You see there is a different version. And right this happens right in front of your eyes. So you don't have to wait for that to be rendered. This is real time. So this is something that you can do also with all the chrome kind of surfaces, glass surfaces, and so on. These are all coming from ARCHLine. Talking about materials like this, there is also a built-in material library in the software. So let's just focus on these. Let me just go closer. See, there is quite a pretty metal appearance here, and there is also water. You remember we talked about this in ARCHLine. There is a material type, but obviously there it was not moving because it was just a still image. But putting it into the water type, the live software actually understands that this should be something moving with real water on it, and then actually I can change this. So there is a built-in library with, for example, water materials and so on. Well, we can talk about the water then, talking about this one, for example, here. This looks like not too much realistic at this very stage, because this water was something pretty on the large surface, but it's not how a jacuzzi water would look like.
It should be something like
so I actually have a few other here, which is something like a clean water. This is how it looks like. And there is this pool water, which looks a bit different, but both are very nice and animated.
Just to recap, so these surfaces became water textures because that's how they were defined in ARCHLine.
Yes.
But this software, ARCHLine.XP Live, assigns the same texture by default, but you can override that. So if you say that in this particular scenario, this is not the best match, then you can just change it to anything you want.
Yes, and for example, there is this glass surface, which is, again, you can see some reflection perhaps as well. And let's just test, there is also a glass material here. So it's with different settings, different reflection, but it happens, again, it happens in a blink of an eye. So I can also take a snapshot and save it already onto my computer. Talking about materials, let's just change a few others here. There is this material here, which looks fine now, but I would like to test it with the other one. I can easily check that.
And that's from the built-in library.
That's from the built-in library, and also there is this nice wood surface, which when I zoom on a little bit, you can see that it's very nice and detailed. So all these things are right there. You can just drag and drop, and you can either choose to change the materials or completely change them, exchange them with something else. We will talk about this a little bit more detailed a bit later. But what you can see here now is the real-time result. What I would like to also talk about is the lights. There is obviously an artificial light here, and actually all those happening the same way next to the wall surfaces.
And these light sources also come from ARCHLine with
Yeah.
their preset
Yeah.
values and properties.
Yeah, well, you know, when you design something, you will likely anyhow put them into the design, so there's nothing extra you have to do with those.
Yes.
But what you can do here, you can tweak them. You can say that, well, actually, this is supposed to be off when it's daytime, or well, let's just make it on and let's just change its intensity somehow. So you can either way change. There are other settings as well, but I'm just focusing on how easily and how quickly you can do these things, and they are happening just in real time as it was before with the materials. So talking about these things here, there is another detail that is usually difficult to bring in when you work with you know, design systems like CAD design systems. When you design the building itself, it is usually difficult to handle details like trees and additional
because
items.
They have so many tiny
decorative
surfaces
items.
that you could obviously import them into your CAD design directly, but they would needlessly overcrowd your model.
Yes, and
So
they contain so many surfaces, and they are also mostly not animated, and even if they would be, there's no meaning to load them into a design.
It's definitely a challenge to render those.
But when you load these, let me just focus on this, I will talk about this later. As you can see, this is how it looks like. This is a nice and detailed set. This is already there with all its details and with nice reflections, and you see all these nerves and everything in the details. So this is how it handles all these things. So let me just bring in a few other things. Like practically, this is something that is very difficult to handle other ways. But as you can see, there is no change in the speed how I work. And this is also so actually foliage. All those plants and organic things are very easy to handle here because they are not really much changing the speed. Obviously, there are things that you can load and overload this a little bit, but as you can see, this is how it's designed to be.
Later, we are going to talk about what is the difference in terms of the hardware needed for something like this compared to a photorealistic render that our software has currently.
Yes. Well, let me just bring in one another detail. Let's just talk about, for example, people. You can bring in, as you can see, this is also a very detailed model with all the wrinkles and the high detail texture and so on. So you can bring in these, and at the same time, it's not dropping down the FPS, so you can handle it easily and smooth without any change in the speed. And talking about these details, I mentioned the trees. Now, well, this model, as you can see, this is not detailed in the exterior.
An platform to
but we can still easily decorate it and say that I would like to bring in a few more other trees and other details like these here. Let me just bring in another one here, like that, and then I can you know just fill it up with those details. These are also moving, which you can easily and nicely see on the shadows.
That's right, and all this movement is what gives the illusion of a moving.
Which is not just spectacular when you do the snapshots, but when you let's say you are my clients, we are designing this together. It happens right in front of your eyes. So I can we will talk about this a bit later. That we can explore this model. So well, this is the detail about the foliage and objects and all those other things. Let me just bring in. Yeah, well, I'm fine with this. And what I would like to change is the lighting conditions. I already talked about the artificial lights, the lamps. But there is another obvious light source in this scene which is something to be modified, and that's the sunlight. Actually, there is a built-in day-night cycle in the software, and that works in a very simple term. You can set up from what time to which time you would like to see that happening. You can easily find the time that matches the best to the scenario that you would like to find, and as you can see, it's nicely moving over there. And you can set up a sunset at even nighttime with you know stars on the sky.
And where does the north direction come from?
This is also coming from ARCHLine. I can change it. I can just change this direction, but this also comes from the project. And also the date and time. So when I change this, I can say, well, okay, this is in March. Let's set up summertime. somewhere when the sun is very strong, and I would like to have a detail like that. Now, talking about this, there is also another detail which I think when we are setting up a night scene will be nice and visible. Right. And let's just talk about this here, this detail. This is a fireplace. And this fireplace should contain at least some fire when it's nighttime, so to give that nice illusion. And this is how it looks like. I can take a snapshot here and save it. Well, let's just do that. I think this is something that I would do. We will talk about this later, how to handle, but as you can see, it's very easy to add the new snapshot.
Just add further and further views and snapshots.
Yes.
Maybe we can carry on this project. Maybe we can go back to daytime. Maybe delete the fire from
I just erased the fire now because daytime. I would like to have my last thing that I would like to represent here with this project, and then we will talk about the details. And that's how you explore the model with your client. So you have this model loaded on your computer, and then you go to walk mode. This is a very easy to use mode. I just move the mouse to the left or to the right, and this is how I look around. And actually, if I would like to move, there's this hint there which helps you how to use. There's the W, which actually he just disabled.
Yes, I just disabled it. I thought that it was
there's a button for that, so you can disable it. But anyhow, you can use those keys to just go to a place, look around, find a nice spot, or just talking about the details that I designed over there, and to move another location, and then to again. This is also good for not just for the client presentation, which I'm doing now for you, but it's also good to find a good spot to take a snapshot from.
Yes, because you can be sure that the snapshot will be on eye level, right? Because you are on the ground, and since you are just using a keyboard and the mouse to navigate, this is something that you can give over to your clients to explore the model. And I think that's a very effective way to sell your design when they can explore their own properties.
Yeah, and I think this is when we can go a little bit deeper into the software details.
Yes.
So what you just saw before, it was like an overview of how ARCHLine.XP Live works and what's ARCHLine and what is ARCHLine.XP Live in a nutshell. But when we talk about how it looks like and how it's built up, now I think it's wise to talk about the
what's
interface.
Under the hood.
The interface
how
first.
It actually works and what other things it does. I don't think we have to save this now. Maybe a couple of views, but nothing apart from that. So we can close this, go back to ARCHLine, and see another project where we can.
Well, let's just talk about the interface first here, because I think now it's wise to talk about the classic things. Like there's the main menu, you can find the options and all the other things. There is this classic open and save. ARCHLine.XP Live has its own file format, which is very, very fast to load and very easy to and quick to save. It usually generates a rather large file, but which is necessary for these details. But it's very easy and very fast to handle. You can also, you have the classic undo and redo tools. You have transformation tools for moving, rotating, rescaling things. And this, what we can see here now, this is the default mode. This is called the editor mode, which means I can select things. The other mode, which was there, and that was the walk mode and the fly mode. Those are different modes. When there is no interface, you can just go around and freely explore. When I hit either escape or my right button key, then I just go back and I'm back to editor mode. This is an indicator here. So whenever you use ARCHLine.XP Live and you see an indicator there, that means usually either an option is turned on or a panel. See, I used this here before, which is a navigator here, and when I turn it on, this indicator tells me that's on screen. So I can connect these together, and then I can find other details. Like for example, I used also this. This is for the snapshots and views. I can turn it on and off. I can actually use these crosses here, and also there are all the other details. I will talk about this later. There's this other panel for the sun settings and so on. So these are controls that you can find, and they are all there. So I can say there's literally no learning time with this software, because right when you try something, then you use it and you already understand how it works. And the ARCHLine.XP Live is designed to be like that. So everything on screen is something that you can touch, change, and find the way they are. There's one another thing that I would like to show you before we move on to the other project, which is the go-to-click point. It's useful in editor, and it's useful when you just would like to find another spot in the design. Let me just change the view.
I want to go over to the beds.
Yeah, for example, there. This is an option. See, it's on now. So now my click means something different. When I click there, I'm just moving there, and it's still on. So if I turn around, and now I click, for example, here, I just move there. This is the go-to option, which is something that you can actually do by selection. I used this before, and this is something that happens when you click on an item. This should be anything, and then you hit the F button. That's for focus, and then it focuses on the selection. This you can use for anything. So I can focus on a door, on a lamp, or on anything that I have here. I just select it and I push the F button, and then I can see the details.
Perfect.
There is one another button that I should talk about, and that's the full screen window mode toggle, and that's the F11 key, which allows you to either work in full screen. I think this is best for presentations when you go to the client and you just would like to see the model in its full glory, and then when you go back, then you will actually have this classic window which you can resize and move to other screens and so on. So that's a classic
right now we
thing.
have two screens, and sometimes we like to push things to another screen.
Yeah, so I think now we could try the other model
and go some more into further details regarding the interface and what we can do with ARCHLine.XP Live.
Yeah, well, for that now I'm just closing this. I could save it, but now I just don't save it. I just quit the software, and then I load another file from ARCHLine, which is this project. We got it from one of our...
Yes, it's a special thanks to our business partner and representative in South Korea who supplied us with this remarkable project. And now
it's a nice,
to use this
nice model
to show some other things what ARCHLine.XP Live can do. So again, we are back to square one. Let's imagine that we are done with the model itself. So the 3D modeling phase is done, and now comes the visual design. And again, we go to the rendering tab to pull up.
Yeah. So this time we repeat these things, but a bit slower, so we can focus on what happens. As you can see, there is the model. Everything that you build up in ARCHLine with the 3D hammer will be transferred to the Live. So you can actually build up partial models as well. You can cut this model half. You can just build up the first floor and transfer only that. So whatever your purpose, when you would like to show your design, build up the model that way and then transfer it to Live. That's how the workflow is designed to be. So now we have the full architectural model with a few interior architecture details, and this is what we will just further enhance with ARCHLine.XP Live. So there is actually a list of views which we will still be able to use, and then I just go here and use the ARCHLine.XP Live command to transfer it to the separately installed ARCHLine.XP Live software, which is the ArcViz solution. And I think now, while it's loading on the other screen, we can talk about a little bit of the system requirements.
There are some questions about it, so let's definitely talk about the system requirements. So as you probably know, and we have already told this several times, the integrated rendering engine that ARCHLine.XP has at the moment is mostly relying on the CPU. So that's a CPU rendering, but the software that you see right now, ARCHLine.XP Live, is based on GPU, which is your graphics card. Yeah. And that's how it can achieve such a remarkable result. But obviously this also means that you need a very powerful GPU or video card to get a result like that.
Well, we used to say when you have a powerful computer for ARCHLine, then it's a powerful computer for Live as well. So you have a good graphics card with a decent amount of RAM and a good processor, you are fine with Live as well. The exact system requirements are to be announced on the web page. You will find them there soon, but these are the general principles. So what we see here now is happening on the graphics card. Let me just change the ground to something else. So what you see here now is happening on the graphics card, and that's why it's very, very fast. It's actually an engine. It's built on an engine which is used for blockbuster games, AAA titles, and that's why it's very, very, very powerful. So let's just summarize again what we did before. So there is the model. You can click and drag materials. You can select materials and change their settings. And for example, if I would like to use a concrete material here, I can find a nice concrete here. I can drag here and I can change them there. I did the same thing with the glass surface. I did the same thing with wooden surfaces, windows, and so on. So I just quickly, make changes and see if I'm happy with that. And there is a question that could come up now that, as you can see, whenever you change something, whenever you change a material, it changes everywhere in this project. This is the default workflow, but it's something that you can easily control. There is a button for that. That's in the all instances mode, and it's by default it's on. That means if I click and drag a material over an existing material, wherever else it's in the project, it will be automatically changed. But when I disable this option, and let's just focus on this. There is a nice staircase over there, which should be something like this, for example. So I click here and see now I'm able to change it staircase by staircase. Not everywhere the same.
And since it shared the same material as the rest of the building, otherwise you would have overwritten everything. But now you're just changing that particular texture that you want.
Yeah, so that's how you can control that. There's another way I can demonstrate that. Now it's off. So see, remember when I clicked here, it changed everywhere. But now I use a different material like this, and this is how you can easily control how that works. You can, at any time, you can enable or disable this option. This indicator always tells you where you are at that moment.
Yes. Let's talk about the views, because that's something that you said there's something extra you want to talk about, how to add additional views, how to record new views.
Yeah, okay. Well, the views which are generated by default from the ARCHLine.XP views are already there. You can just click on 1, 2, 3, and all the rest of the views and find whether you still like them. And let me just close this, because this gives us a full perspective. And when there is something that I don't like, because this was not the best.
That one, view number 2. I just want to change the.
That was, for example, this one. I don't like this. This is not the best. I can either decide to erase that, or there's another similar one. I can just fine tweak them. So it was see, the left side was a bit off, and the right side was showing me too much of the environment. So I just just make it a bit more centered, change the height of the camera, and then with this one, which is kind of an exposing tool, when you click there, it's updating the already existing snapshot. So you can overriding it. Yeah, overwriting it. So let's say I would like to fine tweak this one. Let's just go and, I think I'm fine with this, but I would like to create a new one. So in that case, I use this as a starter, and let me just create an overview 3D view like this, which will be just fine when I use the trees. And then I just add this one here. Actually, I'm doing it as the initial stage of this design process, but I can do it anytime. I don't have to do it at the beginning. Later, at any time, I can add and move things and change views. And I can even, of course, rename these views. So I just click here and I say, okay, this should be
overview.
Okay, let's name it overview. Yeah, that's a fine name for this. So and also there are these left and right buttons to navigate all through these, and the page up, page down buttons work just as in ARCHLine.
That's where you can open up the folder where you have these views saved.
This is the folder. Well, actually, that's on the other screen. Let me just find the file browser that I have here. So yeah, this is it. See, with all the views that I have created. And that's the latest one that I've just updated.
Perfect. Going back to the software itself, maybe there's something on the day-night cycle. No, before we talk about that, you mentioned foliage and vegetation.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the best scenario to talk about, because we have a surrounding. Yeah, we have a surrounding. Yeah. Well, let's just start from where we left off. There is this foliage selection. There are the trees and little bushes and other details that I can just add here. Let me just add.
Crazy with trees. So
let's just add a few here and there, for example. I just click and drag and place them wherever I think they look fine. There are smaller and larger trees and assets. And I think now we are going to...
My question is that now you're obviously working with larger objects, but if you have smaller shrubbery and bushes, maybe you have a better tool to multiply them or
Yeah,
place them in en masse.
Exactly. You can do that. These work the same way, just as any other things. You can undo, redo them. You can transform them. You can move them and rotate them. But the whole point around this, that usually, for example, bushes here. I would like to create, like, I don't know, 30 different pieces of bushes here, and then this is very exhausting to just click and drag and click and drag. So there is a mode here. This is the continuous object placement, which allows me to kind of paint with these objects. So let's start with this one, for example. I just select it. I don't click and drag. I just selected that, and then I just tell that, okay, let's just put it here, and
so
here, and here.
Kind
of painting, yeah. And then I just select this one and paint here a few different types, just to make it give it some variability. And then let's just go with the largest one. This will give a nice detail here and over there. So easily you can paint that surface, and then you can obviously save this into a file. So this is how you can add those details. Now I could use these for trees as well. So if I think that this will work pretty, give me nice details here and around there on the top of the hill and so on. It just click and click and click, and you just place them, and then to add some other details with different type of items, you can just do the same thing over here. So yeah, this is how you could do such a thing, and this works with the rest of the details. I can even click on the human model and just click there to place the model there.
How about we go back to the day-night cycle? There's something what we haven't showed over there yet.
Yeah. Okay. So the day-night cycle, again, this setting comes from the ARCHLine.XP project, but I can fine tweak it and set up any sort of date and time. Let's just talk about that. See, this is how it looks like when you change the north direction, and then you can set up the day cycle from morning till the evening and even through night, and and find a nice time. I think summertime will look fine with this model. And then you can just play it. There is also speed option for that, and I think I'm fine with this. And you can just figure out whether this location is best with these shapes and everything around.
How about, this is a form of animation, obviously.
Kind of, yeah.
And you already showed us how to create still images.
Yep.
But we are boasting of the movement, what we want to communicate somehow. So we want to show this movement to our clients. So
yeah.
How do we create animated views of it?
Well, the animated views are this here. Let me just close up this here and switch to animations. Now see, well, we didn't reveal that with the model, but if you just quickly switch back to the ARCHLine.XP model, which is here, you can see two curves here. Which is one it looks like a line, but actually this is an animation path, and this is also an animation path.
This is something that we recorded before, and we did webinars on how to do this.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to define a path along which a camera is dragged. And you can define the views and the elevation heights, and based on that you can export this information into live, where this data is kept, and you can use this path to track your camera through, right? So
if you would like to create an animation which is more than what you can do here with the lines and colors and kind of an artistic impression of how it will look like, you can export that to the live here, and you can just select those animations, and then you can just easily click and drag through and find whether you like that. And let's just select the other one. I also like this kind of crane up view. That was the
that was number one that you to select.
So that's it. This is also a nice
very
view.
Nice. It's like a drone.
Well, actually, I'm just scrubbing through these this timeline here, but actually I can play it, and in the end I can also save the video file.
Perfect.
So the whole thing that you can see here now, everything happens right in a snap, in an instant. And you can, the same way you can work, you can save the images, and you can create multiple iterations of the same scene.
Yes.
I don't know, many times you need, but usually when I do renderings, I have to create a lot. So it's speeding up things a lot.
In those kind of scenarios where you have to create images with the speed of light, basically, and especially like you said, multiple versions of the same project, this is a very good way to do it because you don't have to spend too much time with renderings because the image what you see while you work is the end result as well. So you don't have to go back to your design if you messed up something with the material settings. You see right away how it's.
Well, actually, we used to say that the difference between live and the classic solutions is that in live, I mean classic renderings, the CPU-based renderings, that in live you are actually working inside or within the visual. You are inside the visual. You right away create the visual, and whenever you need to, just take a snapshot, you actually literally take a snapshot in a second.
Perfect. So this is basically how we can speed up the visualization process and how we can make a better impact communicating vegetation, movement, people, lights, and life itself. So that is basically speaks for itself.
Yeah.
There's one last thing regarding the walkthrough, the real-time walkthrough. One thing what we haven't talked about in addition to the regular walking feature is the flyover function, which is because the walking, obviously for obvious reason limits you on the ground level, but if you just want to fly over or orbit over your model, this is a good way to do it as well.
Yeah, well, the difference between the two, just as you mentioned, one is the human scale walkthrough.
Yes.
That's when you literally walk on the ground and you can reach every space that you could otherwise. There's one thing that is kind of hardwired in this solution, and that's the doors and windows. Should there be a closed door in front of you, you will always be able to cross through that door because that's how it's supposed to be. But actually, as you can see, you bump on the surface of anything else, so you can't cross through the ceiling and everything else.
So
now, talking
you
about
are not going to lose the illusion of walking in a real world environment, because otherwise, if you pass through objects, then you would lose that illusion. But here you can pass through doors and other objects like that. So portals you can pass through, but you would bump into walls.
Actually, when you work on a larger scale project, or at least a similar size like where we are now, if you could explore the model only with the walk mode, you couldn't explore areas of this model that you hadn't created an animation before or a snapshot before. So this allows you to freely go around and explore and still bump into the environment, and you're not being able to go through spaces where you could go otherwise when you edit the model. But with this tool, you can just like it's a drone. You can just fly through the whole area and find a best location to perhaps create a snapshot, or just find the best place for your client.
Or the best way to promote your design and show it around. We have questions. So there's one over here. You mentioned that this program is based on a prominent gaming engine.
Yeah.
And based on that, we have a question over here. Is it possible to use materials from external sources?
Well, I don't want to reveal things that are not there yet, which I cannot show you now. This is something to be talked about in a future webinar.
Later on, there's a question regarding if it's part of ARCHLine. Just let's reiterate this. So the current version of ARCHLine, ARCHLine.XP 2019, is our design software, CAD BIM design software, which is a separate entity. But this year we are introducing a new product, which is ARCHLine.XP Live, which is a separate product that we are developing.
With a different installer and everything else.
But there's a common ground. ARCHLine.XP 2019 is able to communicate with this product and give the model directly to this live platform. Give the model with its dimensions, its textures, the animation path, the views, the north symbols, north direction. So everything that you set up in ARCHLine can be communicated into live. So obviously we do understand that live is an extra step. Not everybody would need an immersive model like that one, but for those of you who do, here's the next step in visual design.
Yeah. So you don't have to use a software which you need to convert your model in another format and then export it and import it there and so on, because this directly communicates, and this is tailored to be a very rich communication channel between ARCHLine and ARCHLine.XP Live. ARCHLine.XP Live, just as you mentioned, is a separate product, so it has its own file format. So when this is transferred, now I get a call from my clients, I have to go off the field, do something else, so I can save it. I don't have to do this whole thing again in ARCHLine, and then I can just jump back, load it back up again, and just fill it up with details when I have a little bit more time.
And that's what we wanted to share with you. This product is not available yet. This is going to be available very soon, but we wanted to give you a glimpse at what we are planning to launch and to show you in advance what 2019 is going to hold for our company and for our brand. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Yeah, here's another question. Can we import our models in ARCHLine, ARCHLine.XP Live, FBX format, or any others?
Well, this is also again a thing which is to be announced in future releases, how it will work, or either it's available or not yet. So I'm not willing to talk about things that are not there yet. So I think let's talk about that in a future
we'll
webinar.
return to that in the future. We are planning to have a webinar series on live, just the way we do it with ARCHLine.XP.
And just a quick side note, any of you watching this webinar, perhaps a few of you already tested the early beta and alpha versions of this software. We are very happy that you send us your feedbacks. Yes. They are very useful. A lot of
things that you see right here is based on client feedback. So
and please keep those coming. We like those feedbacks, and we would like to hear more about those. And when you will be able to download and test the new version, I think you will be happy with the result.
So that's what we had in show for today, and let's talk about what happens next week.
Time.
Because next week we are going to get back from the artistic ways and go back to plain old CAD design. And we'll talk about detailing in ARCHLine.XP. So this is something that we have to know, because we know that ARCHLine.XP is able to create sections, elevation views, but what happens if you want to get the intricate details, or going one step further, what happens if you have existing CAD blocks, connections and joints that you want to import into your drawings? How do you do that? How do you get all this into plot layouts? That's what we are going to talk about.
Well, I think the next session will be very useful for those people who, just as me, I tend to use those classic 2D things as well. Either because I don't have the time to do otherwise, or just I don't want to do that. So and I have 2D groups ready-made to use them. So see you there, and I hope we can show you useful things next time as well.
And thank you very much for tuning in today. We'll see you next Wednesday at the detailing webinar. And if you have any questions or any suggestions on what we should talk about, keep the questions and feedback coming, as you always do. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.